No love for the crab game? Really? Love it or hate it, the Game Awards have become a fairly major part of gaming as of late. After the death of E3, it became one of the only places that really celebrates the year that we've had of gaming, as well as what's to come from every major console, with the exception of Nintendo, who does not show up with trailers, but that's neither here nor there. For the most part, the Game Awards are our celebration. It's a day for people who like video games. And yes, it's become immensely commercialized. There are way too many celebrities involved. It's not the best. But I mean, like, if you don't remember the Spike TV Game Awards,
the winner for the Game of the Year, Madden 2004 EA Sports.
you have not felt pain, okay? Is the current setup perfect? No, absolutely not. There are so many problems, but I can't act like I completely hate the Game Awards. Regardless, every year there is always oh, well, the game that I like wasn't on there, and the game that I like didn't even get a mention, and some people will be like, oh, this game doesn't even fit in that category, and like, yeah, Dave the Diver isn't an indie game, but it's really fun, and I don't know what other category to put it in. I think we need more categories, frankly. You know, maybe we need some kind of a not AAA, but not indie. You know, some kind of a middle ground. The important thing is that this year I'm going to throw my hat, metaphorically, into the ring of the game I like wasn't mentioned. And of course, you saw the thumbnail, you read the title. The game I'm here to talk about is Another Crab's Treasure, aka Dark Bob Souls Pants. Another Crab's Treasure is a Souls-like 3D platformer from the indie studio Aggro Crab. They've made a few other genre-bending titles throughout the years, but this is the one that really made them explode, especially on social media. I first saw the trailer to Another Crab's Treasure during the same indie world that I saw the trailer for Little Kitty Big City. I did a whole review on Little Kitty Big City. It's a very fun game. It was a very fun review to make. Another Crab's Treasure really caught my eye because of the bright, colorful atmosphere, the interesting, cartoony character designs. Then finding out that it's a Souls-like, I was hooked. Full disclosure, I have not played Souls games before this one. I enjoy Souls games, I think they're cool. I've watched my friend Alex play the Dark Souls games. I have listened for an innumerable amount of time to my friend Mason discuss the interesting nuances and story elements of Bloodborne. And I've watched streamers like Moist Critical play like all of them, from Sekiro to that Star Wars one that I do not remember the name of. For me personally, they always seemed like a thing that would irritate me. I don't like to redo the same thing over and over and over again. It gets frustrating. Which I get it, that's the point. But I don't like to be frustrated, usually. That is until I tried this fucking game. 3 things as an individual who has not played Souls-likes brought me over to try this game. First, as I already mentioned, I enjoyed the character designs. I enjoyed the colorful atmosphere. The people at Aggro Crab said they wanted to make a Souls-like that seemed like something that Nintendo would do if they made a Souls-like. The second thing that really pulled me in was that despite the colorful atmosphere, despite the cartoony characters, it still was very adult-themed. The characters show distress at the terrible things that happen. Your character, Krill, that you play, shows concern at what he's becoming when he has to start taking lives in order to survive. I kind of enjoy that whole aesthetic where something looks like it could kind of be cartoony, but then it turns out to just not be. It makes sense. I'm a 90s kid. We grew up with South Park, so I mean, yeah, sort of. It checks out. And the third thing that brought me in was the fact that it is a platformer. I really like platformers, 3D and 2D. I'm not great at platforming, but I love playing platforming games. And because that is a genre of game that I can lose at and still want to play more of, I thought it made sense for me to step into a genre that is famously known for losing and losing and losing and then trying again. So, you know, you take both those elements and maybe it's something I'll enjoy. I wasn't super into roguelikes until I tried Dave the Diver and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, and now I think roguelikes are cool. So why not, you know? In order to make this video more of a review-esque, something that's kind of review adjacent, I figured I would take the things that I really enjoyed from the game and the things that I really did not enjoy from the game, separate them. And I'm gonna get the things I didn't enjoy out of the way first, because I don't like being negative. I don't have a lot of videos on this channel where I'm just really hating on something, and that's because I don't like being negative. I don't like projecting negativity. I don't need that to be my brand. So as far as things I didn't love, when the game first came out, a little bit buggy. Mostly those bugs were on the Nintendo Switch version, and I get that. It's old hardware, it's basically a tablet from like a decade ago. Makes perfect sense that things don't always run super smoothly on it. There were quite a few bugs that I noticed during my first playthrough, and I think I started my first playthrough either right before or right after the first major patch of the game on the Switch. Sometimes enemy character models would just kind of get stuck. They would get unstuck when you tried to attack them. So, I mean, that didn't really last. And they were strong enough enemies that they still beat my ass after I unstuck them. So, you know, that didn't really help in my favor too much. The biggest glitch in the early days of the game was during the first main boss. The first main boss has a grab attack where she captures you in a T-strainer, flings you around, and just kind of chucks you. But the second time she used that move on me, she just spun around in circles for an extended period of time. I cannot tell you how long that I just spun, hoping to God that I could continue the fight. I got up, left the room, got a drink, came back, I was still spinning. Eventually I gave up, turned the game off, and started the fight over. Luckily, as far as I understand, most of those glitches have been patched out, so they're no longer an issue. And I mean, honestly, I'm down for that one thing, you know? It's not that big of a deal. This is an indie game from a very small studio. Bethesda, CD Projekt Red, a lot of companies release games in much worse conditions than this, and are large companies. So, one little issue, not a big deal, my opinion. The other issue I have has not been patched out, and it's just as minor, frankly. Another Crab's Treasure takes place in a mostly open world. Some of the larger areas, especially towns, are blocked off by a loading screen, but a large portion of the explorable world is fairly open. Once you get to other large areas, it has a bunch of areas within it that are equally open to travel to. The issue is that when you're in between one large area and the next part of the map, sometimes there will be some rendering lag. Generally, you'll know when you're coming up onto one of these laggy spots because there will be a large portion of platforming challenges right before you get to the next spot of the map. I've kind of gotten used to it, so when I know I'm about to hit one of these areas or when the lagging starts, I just stop. Don't move for a minute, let it all render, then walk through. Is it a little annoying? Yes. I assumed it was because I had the Switch version. I found out that that same amount of lagging does happen on the PS5 version for sure. I don't know anyone off the top of my head that has played it on the Xbox, so I can't answer for them. I don't know if PC has had that issue. I think theirs might have been a little bit easier of a flow. I don't know for sure, don't quote me on that. But as far as I know, I think it's mostly a console issue. I think it's just an amount of lagging that's happening in the console versions of the game. Some kind of an issue with the port, I guess. I'm not a developer, I don't know. Does that issue really make that big of a deal? No, but I wanted to point it out. I want to be transparent and tell you the things that I honestly didn't love, you know? That's it though. Those are the two things I didn't like about the game. Some glitches that are gone now, and some lagging. That's it. If those are things that bother you, then, you know, maybe, frankly, you need to whine less, honestly. But as far as I'm concerned, those are small issues. They're not something that is game-breaking. I played all of Scarlet and Violet, and it had lots of pop-in and lag. Maybe if the game does well enough that it gets a physical release, we'll have less of these issues. Hopefully. I know I would be willing to buy a physical. I liked the game that much. Now on to the various things I enjoyed. First off, the story is super fun. You play a saltwater hermit crab named Krill. You lived in a little tide pool all your life. just chilling, not bothering with anything. A literal loan shark shows up with apparent permission from the local duchy to evict your home and steal your shell. Krill has been living in this tide pool his whole life. He's never had to deal with taxes or local government, so he's got no idea what any of that shit is. You jump into the ocean to try to chase the guy down and get your shell back, and that's what starts the whole adventure. Real early on, you get kind of conscripted into helping the duchy with a whole issue of pollution that's coming your way. You find out that the main currency in this world is microplastics. Throughout the game, you'll get microplastics for a number of things, mostly killing enemies. You'll use the microplastics to buy items, but you'll also use them to level up. Because you are now shellless, you have to find a shell. So throughout the game, you find shells through various bits of garbage that's in the ocean. It's both a really funny take on how pollution's working in the ocean currently, and on a real-life phenomenon that goes on. It's an actual real situation. A lot of sea hermit crabs are using lids and other pieces of trash as makeshift shells. In the game, it's a fun mechanic. You see, each shell has its own special ability. You get a type of magic called umami that you load up through your MSG stat. Sorry, that gets me. That's good. It's good shit. Your MSG stat and your umami basically translates to different spells and skills that you can use as you level up throughout the game. Again, each shell has its own special umami power, whether that's healing, whether that's some kind of an attack. Each shell also has its own weight, which will decide how quickly you can move and maneuver, which is good because it's a Souls game. You need to roll out of the way a lot. It's one that's supposedly set up kind of like Sekiro. I've never played Sekiro, but I guess you really need to roll into attacks to try to parry them, and I'm bad at that. But there is a parrying system in this game that has been compared to Sekiro. Crab Samurais. That'd be a fucking cool sequel. Throughout the course of the game, Krill goes from one place to another, trying to get away from the pollution that's taking over a lot of the sea, corrupting people and turning them into these weirdly realistic-looking crabs that are super aggro. Is it a bit on the nose? Kind of, but in a really fun way. I talked about South Park earlier, and I think it kind of matches in that same amount of, like, funny, satirical cynicism. And I really appreciate that here. Also, the characters curse through nautical puns, so that's great. One of the aspects in the game that you see a lot of is that the various sea life have taken the trash and made their own societies. The first one you find is the local duchy. As we've discussed earlier, it's in a big sand castle. It's very medieval centric. As you kind of get in towards the coral reef, you find a city that feels a lot more noir, maybe even a little beyond the 20s, but like definitely has some like, you know, gritty crime movie vibes. Another aspect that I absolutely love in this game is the combat. The combat is super fun. I love rolling in and out and trying to get attacks in whenever there's an opening. Something about it just feels so right. Some of the elements of the combat, like you have a fish hook that you can use to attempt to reel people in, knock them off balance. Not great at using that. I don't care for it. Whenever I accidentally bump that button, it always irritates me. I'm more of an up close, like get right in there and just stab them with my fork. Your weapon's a fork, by the way. And of course, it is a Souls game, so one of the things that's absolutely amazing are the fucking boss fights. The boss fights in this game are so fun. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how much fun I had with some of these ridiculous bosses. They have some straight up nightmare fuel bosses in this game, all based off of real sea life, and it is so much fun. Also, while I'm on the subject of bosses, one of the other things I loved in this game was the music. The music is done so well. I really hope they release this OST because it's really good. But specifically this mini-boss theme. This mini-boss theme that you don't always find because a lot of these mini-bosses are secret bosses goes so hard, and I fucking love it. This theme was all over TikTok when this game first dropped. Like, the amount of people that were reacting specifically to this mini-boss theme. And it's so good. It slaps so hard, man. The game itself really tackles a lot of interesting subject matter, from the actual pollution to the amount of lengths you're willing to go to get back to your way of life, and can you even return to that way of life after all of the atrocities you've committed? Super dark for how cutesy it looks. One thing that's really nice is there's a lot of accessibility options for individuals like me who haven't played a lot of Souls-like games. So if you find that you're really bad at a lot of it, you can change the difficulty. There's a bunch of different difficulty options. You've got your generic, easier, easiest, normal, harder versions, but you've also got like specific elements. If you find that there's one element you're really, really struggling with, you can kind of turn it down. And look, I'm not afraid to admit I was really bad in the beginning, so I turned a few of these on. And as I got better, I started moving them back off a little bit. I'm not great at these. I wanted to finish the game because I was really enjoying it. Sue me, man. Also, one of the accessibility options is hilarious. It is just the biggest meme in the whole game, and that is a gun. You get a Glock that Krill wears as a shell, and it one-shots anything. There were a few moments where just I was bored and I wanted to kill a few minutes, so I just threw the gun on, went to one of the areas I'd already cleared, and just shot everything. Because, fuck it, why not? You could even use it to one-shot bosses, but I think that kind of kills the point of the funness of these boss fights. Like, if you enjoy boss fights, that feels like that's a step beyond what I'm willing to go. I am willing to admit that I need some of the accessibility options, but I refuse to just one-shot the boss fights. That feels wrong. That said, if you want to just do a meme run and just go through and gun everything down, just do it. See how fast you can beat the game. That could be a really fun speed run. Just see how quickly you can shoot through every boss in the game. Honestly, I kind of want that to be a thing now. We need to get that to happen. Another thing that's kind of fun is there's a lot of outfits hidden throughout the game. Some of them are references to things. Some of them I don't think are references to anything in particular. My favorite is this game's version of the Soul Air armor. You have to go through quite a gauntlet in order to find it. So once I got it and I knew that I'd earned it, I didn't take that shit off. That was my costume for the rest of the playthrough. Plus it just looks cool. So I mean, why wouldn't I wear that? But there's plenty of other options too, from various bandanas, different colors. There's a pride flag one, a bunch of different costumes. There's a Mr. Krabs costume. Ultimately, I'm just gonna say, if you like platformers and you like big, colorful games, especially ones that are very adult themed, I'd say give this game a try because you might have fun. If you like Souls-likes, you should give this game a try because it is very fun. I have never really had that much interest in playing a Souls-like, but I love this game. I'm probably gonna have to go out and try Elden Ring now just because I adored this and I kind of want more. It really just shows, stepping out of your comfort zone in gaming is never really a bad thing. Plus, we've had a lot of good indie games this year, so go support some indie, dude. Come on. I don't know, maybe I'll talk more about the Game Awards and things like that in the future, but I really wanted to talk about this when I saw that it's not even nominated for anything. I understand why other games are on this list of best indie of the year, Blatro, Animal Well. I get it. It just bums me out. I don't know which one I would take out because I think these other games deserved their spots, but I just really wanted to see another Crab's Treasure on there. It's honestly one of my favorite games I played this year. Anyway, guys, I think that's about it for this one. Thank you again to all of the recent subscribers and the recent new viewers. If you're wondering why I've been uploading shorts of me opening up Pokemon packs, it's because I had some B-roll footage left over from when I did the Pokemon Pocket video. I figured I'd just throw them on there and see what happened, and then people seemed to like them. I got 14 subscribers in a week. If you're watching and you liked that and you want to see more Pokemon packs, let me know. Leave a comment on one of those shorts, leave a comment on this video, whatever though. If you guys liked this video, please hit subscribe, ring the bell, do all the YouTube things. Have you played the Crab game? Did you enjoy it? Please let me know down in the comments because I think it really burned bright and then fizzled out. There was so many good indies this year. People kind of stopped talking about another Crab's Treasure, and I think it's worth another look. I think it is literally good enough that it needed more attention. Either way, I'm Dogface. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next time, and be kind to each other.